Welcome back to Kaleidoscope with Daisy Cousens. I'm here with dating coach and media star Harrison Boon. So, Harrison, before the break, we talked about your, little argument with faux feminism and the concept of certain women being unmarriable. Now, you're a dating coach. What, in your opinion, then, makes a woman unmarriable?
Well, two main things. I would say having a low opinion of men and partaking in low-value behaviour. They're really the two criteria that makes a woman, a modern woman, unmarriable.
Okay, and what would certainly low opinion of men? I don't really think any man would want to marry a woman who doesn't like his species much. I don't. I can understand
well,
that.
if you'd asked me what makes a man unmarriable, I would say that certain women aren't going to want to marry low value or men with low ability to generate resources. Women can say that they don't need men financially, but I mean the proof is in the pudding. If you look at the dating marketplace, the men with the most get the most. Right? So it's just a fact that if you go out there, the guy with the brand new BMW, the Rolex on his wrist, and a $300,000 a year finance bro job, he's going to do well. Even if he's an average-looking guy, he's going to do okay in the dating marketplace. Now, I come along, a guy like me can show him how to maximize his options, but he's going to do okay. An average guy who makes $50,000 a year as say a data analyst at a bank or something, let's say he's got a low-income job, wears a second-hand Timex, driving an old Toyota Corolla to work, he's going to struggle in the dating marketplace.
Yeah.
So, women can say one thing, but what they vote for in private on dating apps is a completely different story. So the guy that has low ability to generate wealth or resources and also partakes in low-value behaviour. For men, that's chronic gambling, chronic any sort of like lifestyle where it's going to lead to an early death. So smoking, drinking, being overweight, things like that. Those are low-value male behaviours. That makes a man unmarriable. Now, what makes a woman unmarriable? Well, an unmarriable woman is basically a woman that has a low opinion of men or partakes in low-value behaviour. And low-value behaviour for women is promiscuity. So, and in that I would include having an OnlyFans. The proof is in the pudding that high-value men don't want to marry OnlyFans girls. And another thing with that is lying, cheating, or stealing. So those three main things are what would make a modern woman unmarriable.
Yeah, no, a lot of that makes sense. I mean, I can imagine what you've identified as unmarriable behaviour in men. Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with all of those things, and I'm very keen to chat pretty soon, actually, about the women being attracted to what they call resources. What I'm interested in, though, in terms of what makes a woman unmarriable, lying, a low opinion of men, lying, cheating, all of that kind of stuff, I understand. What I'm keen for you to explain to me is the issue of promiscuity, because I've heard you say it a number of times. What is it about women having a quote-unquote high body count, it's a colloquialism. What is it about that that's unattractive?
Yeah, I don't like the term high body count. I like the term many sexual partners. I think high body count is just crass. I like the term, many sexual partners. There is absolutely no data to suggest that a promiscuous man cannot commit. But there is a biological reason for why men do not want to have long-term partnerships with promiscuous women. It increases the chance that she is going to be promiscuous in the future. So she's high risk in terms of a relationship. And also, from a biological perspective, it's increasing the risk that he could be providing for a child that isn't his. So those are the two main biological reasons why men don't want, high-value men don't seek out promiscuous women as the norm.
I did not think of that, the idea that there could be an option that the child they're raising isn't actually his. That makes total sense. Now I understand. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, you're coming across very misogynistic agreeing with this, Daisy.
Well, no, but it makes sense. I can understand that paranoia. And it's interesting, though, I think women might not admit this because from my experience of being a woman, particularly when you're dating, a lot of the time we don't want to be thought of as prudes. Like, we don't want to be thought of as uncool, so we'll sometimes say stuff and think something else. I think a lot of women actually don't like men to have many sexual partners either, but for different reasons.
I would push back on that and disagree.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. There is absolutely no reason why women wouldn't want a man that's successful with women. There's a thing called pre-selection. So when a man is highly successful with women, it's basically it validates to other women that they have done the groundwork of making sure this guy's safe, he's a good provider, he's high value, he's attractive. Women are attracted to men that other women are attracted to. That doesn't necessarily ring true for men. See, there's lots of different nuances in the dating marketplace that differ between men and women. Something that a woman finds attractive in a man doesn't necessarily find attractive in a woman. And a perfect example of that is many sexual partners. If a man can be successful with women, it means that a lot of women have pre-selected him as high value, or at least we know that women are hypergamous and they want to date up. They want to date more attractive or higher value people. So if a woman has done the groundwork of pre-selecting a man, especially enough to sleep with him, that signals to other women that he's a high value man. Right?
Possibly.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think that's an interesting point, and probably that is true for some women. But from speaking as a woman, who has, dated and gone through all of that, from my perspective and the perspective of a lot of my friends, and maybe where like a type of woman you don't encounter a lot when you're in the dating coaching world, a high body count for me is unattractive because, one, I don't think that makes him reliable as a future partner. Long term, and two, I don't want to catch anything. Like, the idea of a guy having slept with like 50 women gives me the ick because I think, ew.
Well, I think those two concerns are fairly fair for both sexes.
For both sexes,
the only thing I would push back on is that promiscuous men. Look, if you look at long-term relationships, who leaves long-term relationships, who initiates divorces, it isn't men.
No,
right?
It's women.
So promiscuous men, high-value men, the kind of men that women are attracted to, the kind of men that have a lot of options, they're not the ones divorcing women. 80% or more of divorces are initiated by women.
Yeah.
So there's no data to support the fact that a promiscuous man is going to be promiscuous in the future. Take it from me. I was a stripper for 7 years, right?
Oh.
I've dated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women.
Oh
right?
My God.
So, and now I'm perfectly happy with the woman that I have. And I know many men like me. But I also know many women that I met along the way that were very promiscuous and go from relationship to relationship. So I've got empirical data and first-hand experiences that can speak to this. But also, if I look to the dating marketplace and just analyse the broad spectrum data for myself, I can see that, it's not men that are initiating divorces, it's women. It's overwhelmingly women. Almost it's the majority women.
Yeah,
so,
there's something like 80% of divorces are initiated by women, and I think there are reasons for that actually that we can get into certainly after the break, because I'm loving this discussion, but we have to cut to a break, unfortunately. So everyone, please stick around, because after the break, Harrison Boon and I are going to talk about why possibly women are leaving marriages, and also what we mean by a high-value man and why women are attracted to resources. So stick around. Welcome back to Kaleidoscope. I am here with Harrison Boon. So Harrison, something that's copped you a lot of criticism is your contention that women are attracted to resources, which means, as you say, high-value men making a lot of money. You had a little argument actually with Jackie O, as in Kyle and Jackie O, of the radio about it a little while ago. We've got a little clip of that, if we could have a little listen.
Do you think that this conversation now is going to change women's mind for wanting security or a man's mind for wanting or a preference for younger women? Do you think this conversation is going to change that?
I think that you're generally speaking, like, a lot of women aren't necessarily looking for a man and security. We can do that ourselves. Like, I don't care for him providing me security at all. I get that it exists with some women, but we're not all the same. And I just think that
What?
we're not all the same. We're not all looking for the
That was
same
a
thing.
joke. I knew that. Yeah.
Now, look, my opinion of that, I agree with what you said soon after that, which was that Jackie O is a type of very, very successful woman who has a lot of money, who really doesn't need to worry about
That's right.
that. What I think... I think women, I don't think it should even be controversial to suggest that women are attracted to resources, because that has an evolutionary basis. Because women ultimately are the bearers of children. Most women will want to have children. And as a female, you have an unconscious instinct that there will be a period of your life where you are physically vulnerable because you are pregnant, you're taking care of the kids. Surely it's instinctive, Harrison, for women to want a man who either has the resources or the potential to generate the resources to facilitate them through that process.
Look, Daisy, once we came out of the Stone Age, we can go back and analyse fossils. And once human beings came out of the Stone Age, archaeologists can work out that it took 13 million calories to raise a child.
Oh, wow.
Right? Now, who provided those calories?
Well, if she's pregnant, then the woman, surely.
Women weren't known as great long-distance hunters back then. That was on the man. Men went out, hunted, and brought the wildebeest back to the cave and fed his family, right? Now, that biological urge, that proclivity for a male provider, that's been in us for thousands and thousands of years. That's not a biological evolutionary trait that we're just going to drop because, you know, women pay tax and drive cars and, you know, vote now. That's just not going to go away. And second to that is, women like Jackie. Jackie went for a highly successful man back when she was younger and had a child with him and was married to him. And now that she's made her own money, she can sit there on, you know, on her high horse and say, oh, I don't need a man for blah, blah, blah. Well, Jackie, you haven't been in the middle or lower class really for the last 25 years. Jackie's earned a lot of money out of radio. Right, if you're a median income earner in this country, you earn $100,000 a year or less in Australia. Men and women need each other financially. So stability, especially a high income, is very high on women's checklist of what they're looking for in a partner. If they're in, you know, the average Australian group of dating, you know, it's just, I just find it completely ridiculous. It's such a privileged opinion to say, I don't need a man financially, especially when, you know, especially when women like that put their hand out for child support from those men.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think Jackie O really is, I mean, I really like Jackie O. I think she's great, but I think she's very much talking from her own perspective there.
Oh,
and I
completely out her ass.
I think also she took what you said the wrong way. I think she took it to mean that you were saying women were only attracted to resources, but you weren't. You were saying that was one of the things they were attracted to.
Exactly.
But obviously personality and values and all the other nice things come into it as well.
Well, I mean, you look at who's the most highest sought-after single men on the planet. They're usually athletes, celebrities, you know, musicians, you know, tech entrepreneurs. Like, these are the men women are going after, throwing themselves at. Why? Because they have a lot of resources. They're not always the most well-built. They're not always the most attractive. But if they've got a lot of resources, they're very attractive to women. And that is, like you said, one of the driving factors. It's not the only reason women date men. But to try and deny that because women are in the workforce now is a complete delusion.
And it's interesting, though, because Jackie O and also a couple of other women who called in, they actually raised what I thought was a reasonable point, which is that nowadays, because women are in the workforce, resources are still a selling point, but they're not as much of a selling point as they were, say, you know, even 50 years ago when women had less.
Yes, because...
There's actually a really interesting quote that I want to read you. There's a terrific couples counsellor. His name is Terence Real, and he wrote a book called The New Rules of Marriage. And he talks about what women and men in modern relationships want from each other. And I've got the quote here. The reason things have been so difficult between men and women in the last several decades can be pared down to this. In the last generation, women have radically changed and men, by and large, have not. This is not a criticism of men, it's a simple fact. Contemporary women want to be more than companions with their spouses. They want to remain friends and lovers. If the 20th century marriage was companionable, the new marriage is intimate, physically, sexually, intellectually, and above all, emotionally. The new marriage takes the stability, the building of a life together that was the whole of marriage a generation ago, and grafts it onto the expectations of a lifelong romance, deep talks, exciting times, and great sex. What's your take on that, do you think?
I think it's a bunch of egalitarian bullshit. I think that the notion that women have changed and men have stayed the same is another fallacy. It's another delusion. Women and men haven't changed much for thousands of years, right? If anything, we're getting a little bit weaker and our bone density is getting a little bit thinner. But like, that's about it, right? Since the Industrial Revolution, there hasn't been any real changes in, human biology. Look, it's not the road I want to go down. The thing I want to focus on is what use are modern men to women, right? And it's correct in what you're saying that now that women have entered the workforce, they have the opinion that they no longer need men. Well, who keeps the water, power and gas on? Men are the ones going out doing the high-risk, critical jobs in this country. Without men, if I clicked my fingers and made all men disappear today, women would die in a matter of weeks. There aren't enough trained women to go and run the power plants and the gas plants and the water stations in this country to keep themselves alive. The economy would crash. Women would starve to death in a matter of weeks, right? Modern men serve the most critical purpose in this country. And the only reason you and I are sitting here having this conversation is because men today were out risking their lives working on the telecommunications line, right? Women aren't rushing out to be high-risk miners in a hole somewhere. Women aren't rushing out to go and erect telegraph poles. Women want equality where there's air conditioning and concrete. And the second thing is women are also right that they don't need modern men in terms of finance for relationships, but that's only because we've transferred the responsibility of providing for children from the spouse to the state, right? Women earn $900 a fortnight from Centrelink for being single mothers in this country. That's arguably more than what you may get from a spouse earning the median income of his disposable income. It's $400 a week. Right?
That's interesting.
So women are getting a lot of financial support from Centrelink in this country. But who is paying that? That's the Australian taxpayer. That's the workforce that is majority male, right? That is paying the taxes to support.
They're paying most of the taxes, aren't they?
Exactly.
No, look, you make good points. You are correct though that but this is modern feminism. They're very interested in women becoming politicians and lawyers and very, very powerful, comfortable positions. But they're not going out saying, well, we need more women garbage collectors or more women bricklayers or more, all of that kind of stuff.
Like I said, they want equality wherever there's air conditioning and concrete.
Also where there's societal power, and that's how we know feminism is a political movement and not a movement for people. They don't actually want equality, they want power.
It's supremacy. It's no longer about equality, it's now about supremacy.
Female supremacy. But I will disagree with you. I do think, and I say this as a modern woman, I do think women have definitely changed more than men because we have simply been subject to different social forces than men. So I think the reason from I've read, feminism, there you go. The cult of feminism, the culture of feminism, also the experience of being in the workforce, that really great feeling you get when that big paycheck kicks in, that amazing feeling you get when you go out with your co-workers. Like we couldn't have not changed. The problem is,
preferences change. People don't.
I think that is why, Harrison, we talk about women initiating 80% of divorces, the reason we do it is because we're not getting from modern marriages what the extra things that we want from men, which is great conversation, sex continuing, like fun times, all of those things. And I think that's where we're in a difficult spot in human history. But you raised a good point on a live stream, though, because someone put that to you, and you said, okay, well, if women expect more from men emotionally, intellectually, philosophically, in order to keep their relationship interesting and to keep them interested, if they can generate their own researchers, what are women giving in return? Do you want to have a chat about that point? Because I found that an interesting point from you.
100%. And modern women, like you said, they've been lied to by feminism. They think that now because they generate their own wealth, that increases their marketplace value when we speak about dating. It doesn't.
Yeah.
A woman's money is really completely irrelevant to a man. We know that the minute a woman is pregnant and out of the workforce, we are the ones that step in and provide. Or women take maternity leave from a company that is the collective wealth of that business is now funding. So again, women are always dependent financially on either the state or their spouse.
And that's the nature of biology, though. And I actually get cranky when feminists try to push back on that and say that women don't need men. Because, like, we do need men and men need women. Like, we need each other.
We've shifted the responsibilities.
We have, and we do need each other. And I think that if more women were able to see through that lie of feminism, I think men and women would be in a much better
But to address
position.
your point about women, coming into the dating scene and expecting more, but they do offer less. I mean, they're behaving in a way that is unbecoming of anyone that a high-value man would want to marry. I speak to hundreds of high-value men that earn $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, have their own homes. You know, guys under the age of 40, some slightly over the age of 40, that have either been married and it hasn't worked out, or they've been single up until that point. I know I spoke to a guy today who falls into that category. He's 41, very well educated, makes great money, and has been single. Right? Now, what he's looking for, he's having trouble finding, because the women that he introduces himself to on dating apps, they're coming in, they're like some of the women that he's matching with are saying, I don't want a relationship, I'm looking for a provider though. So what, he's going to do all of the traditional provider role for this person, but get none of the traditional what would you say, reciprocation of a relationship. No sexual contact, no dating, no exclusivity, but be giving her financial backing? That makes no sense.
No, that makes no sense at all.
Right, so modern women are coming into the dating marketplace with untraditional values but wanting traditional outcomes. And they're disappointed because they're not finding it. And the women that have been lied to and have believed the lies of feminism are the very women that find themselves in the Unmarriables, sitting on the shelf, going from relationship to relationship, heartbreak to heartbreak, and then getting more and more bitter and vindictive against men. The very people they're trying to attract in the first place. It's a vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle, and no, that isn't fair. And that, I think, is the entitlement that a lot of modern feminists have bred in women, this feeling like women need to overpower men in order to feel validated, when that's not an equal partnership. You know, an equal partnership is give and take. You know, one partner does one thing, another partner does another thing, that complements each other. Sometimes there's crossover. And in a modern relationship, which is more than the companionship of the 20th century, the conversation keeps going, the lovemaking keeps going, the emotional connection keeps going. And I think that's what people should be aspiring to, not this sort of transactional stuff that seems to be going on. Now, I have one, we're out of time, and I'm really sad about it, and I would like to have you on again because all of this is fascinating. I have one final question for you, Harrison. And it's sort of playing devil's advocate to our whole conversation, but I have to ask it. We can be, you can be as technical as you want about dating, and you have to be nowadays because it's a technical process given the technology that's involved. Doesn't it all, or does it all just get negated in the face of good old-fashioned chemistry between a man and a woman?
Look, I think chemistry's for Disney movies. I think relationships are a business, and especially for men, we are cost-benefit calculators. So a man's not going to invest in something if he's not going to see a return. And a lot of women are coming into the dating marketplace with that exact mindset. And the people that I see making it work the most are people with realistic ideas of what they can get for themselves, and also being happy with that. There's nothing wrong with an average man or an average woman. This idea that everyone's shooting for the top 1% person, it's unrealistic.
Because there's nothing wrong. The thing is, being with an average Joe, there's nothing wrong with that. Being with, I think No
What's
one has
wrong?
to. There's nothing wrong with being with an average Joe. There's nothing wrong with being an average woman.
No.
You know, no one should be always shooting for 10s because not everybody is a 10. And the thing is, some 10s know they're 10s and that makes them unbearable to be around. So, you know what I mean? Harrison, this has been a really fascinating conversation. I've really enjoyed this chat. I hope we can get you on for part 2. Thank you so much for coming on this evening.
Thank you for having me.